I am sitting at the Christmas Eve table holding a glass of red wine that my daughter-in-law just served me with a smile that is way too sweet. Something in my chest screams at me not to taste it, but before I can even smell it, my son Ryan comes up from behind me. He accidentally trips against the table, and in the middle of the movement, he switches my glass for Vanessa's. Everything happens in 2 seconds. No one else notices. I do not understand what just happened either. 10 minutes later, my daughter-in-law runs to the bathroom with her face pale while everyone raises their glasses to toast to the family. I stay paralyzed, staring at my son who is sitting across from me with eyes full of something I cannot decipher. Fear, rage, protection. Then he leans toward me and whispers in my ear, "Tomorrow, on Christmas, I will tell you something shocking." In that moment, my whole world begins to crumble. But before continuing with this story, that changed my life forever, let me ask you something. If you are listening to this right now, leave a comment and tell me where you are listening from. I want to know that I am not alone in this, that there is someone else out there who understands what it feels like when the people you trust the most betray you in the cruelest way. Write to me, please. I need to know that my story can serve a purpose. My name is Robert Miller. I just turned 63, and I have spent my whole life in this beautiful and chaotic city of Chicago. I was born here. I grew up here. I built my business here. And here I thought I would die in peace, surrounded by my family. How naive I was. How blind I was for so long. Let me tell you who I was before all this started. I am a civil engineer by profession, but my true calling was always the construction business. For more than 35 years, I raised buildings, residential complexes, shopping plazas. I started with nothing. Absolutely nothing. My father was a farmer in a small town in the Midwest, and my mother sold homemade pies at the market. I was the first of 7 siblings to go to college. I paid for my studies working as a bricklayer in the mornings and studying at night. I will never forget the pain in my hands after carrying bricks all day and then having to hold a pencil to do structural calculations. But it was worth it. Everything was worth it, or so I thought. Over time, the business grew. I hired employees. I formed a construction company. I won important contracts. I made contacts. I became not rich, but a man with enough resources to live well and leave something dignified for my children. I have properties in Chicago and a lake house in Michigan, investments in funds, savings accounts that I fed for decades thinking about my family's future. I also have a life insurance policy that is quite generous, $3 million. A fortune for anyone, and especially, as I would discover later, for someone with dark ambitions. My wife Mary passed away 5 years ago from pancreatic cancer. It was quick and devastating. She was the center of everything, the one who kept the family together, the one who organized the gatherings, the birthdays, the holidays. When she left, I felt like a part of me turned off forever. My children Ryan and Ashley were my only comfort in those times. Ryan is my eldest. He is 37 years old. He is a corporate lawyer, hardworking, serious, a bit quiet. He was always the responsible one, the one who looked after his younger sister. Ashley is 32. She lives in Denver with her husband. Although we talk often, the distance means we do not see each other as frequently as I would like. 3 years ago, Ryan met Vanessa O'Connor, 34 years old, social worker, or that was what she said. She came from a middle-class family in the suburbs, without any apparent major pretensions. She was pretty, educated, nice. At first I liked her. She seemed genuine. She seemed to love my son. They got married after a year and a half of dating in a beautiful ceremony in the backyard of my house. I paid for everything, of course. The wedding, the honeymoon in Italy, the down payment on the apartment where they live now in an upscale neighborhood. I did not care. He was my only son, and I had the means to help him. I wanted to see him happy. But something changed after the wedding, something subtle, almost imperceptible. Vanessa started making comments, little insinuations. "Oh, Robert, What a big house for just you. Do you not feel very lonely? Mr. Miller, have you thought about what you are going to do with all these properties when you are gone? My love, your dad is getting old. We should be more attentive to him, do not you think? At first I took it as legitimate concern, as affection from a daughter-in-law, but over time those comments became more frequent, more insistent, and always revolved around the same subject. My age, my health, my assets, my future. Ryan also changed. He became more distant, less communicative. Before, we used to eat together at least twice a week. We talked about everything: politics, business, life. After marrying Vanessa, the visits became spaced out. Then they started coming together, but the conversations were no longer the same. Vanessa was always present, always interrupting, always steering the topic toward practical things: finances, paperwork, inheritances, wills. A year ago, Vanessa suggested that I should sell my lake house in Michigan. It is too far, Robert. What do you want it for? Sell it and enjoy the money while you can. I refused. I bought that property with Mary when we celebrated 20 years of marriage. It has enormous sentimental value for me. Vanessa smiled and said she understood, but I saw something in her eyes, a spark of frustration, of annoyance. 6 months ago, during a family lunch, Vanessa brought up the topic of my will, directly, without beating around the bush. Mr. Miller, do you have everything in order? I mean, just in case something happens, it is important that your children know what your wishes are. Ryan looked at her uncomfortably, but said nothing. I answered yes, that everything was in order, that I had a will drawn up by my trusted lawyer years ago. She insisted. Can we know what it says? I told her with all the calm in the world that it was a private matter between my lawyer and me, and that when the time came, my children would know everything necessary. Vanessa's smile froze. Ryan changed the subject quickly, but I felt something, and discomfort, a hunch. The following weeks were weird. Vanessa started being more affectionate with me, too affectionate. She called me to invite me to lunch. She asked about my health constantly. Do you feel okay, Robert? Does anything hurt? Are you taking your meds? I have high blood pressure, nothing serious, controlled with medication, but she acted as if I were on the edge of the grave. She brought me teas, supplements, vitamins. So you feel better, Mr. Miller. So you have more energy. I never took them. I do not know why. Intuition, maybe. I kept them in a drawer and threw them away later. Something inside me told me not to trust blindly. And then December arrived. Christmas. The most beautiful time of the year, but also the most painful since Mary left. This year, Vanessa insisted that we spend Christmas Eve at my house. It will be nice, Robert. Like in the old days. I will take care of everything. You just enjoy. Ashley would come from Denver with her husband. It would be a small reunion, but familiar. I accepted. Of course I accepted. Despite everything, I wanted to believe that things were fine, that my family loved me, that I was exaggerating with my suspicions. Vanessa arrived early on December 24th, along with Ryan. She brought bags full of food, decorations, wine. Today is going to be a special night, Mr. Miller, you will see. She hugged me, kissed my cheek. She smelled of an expensive and sweet perfume that gave me a bit of nausea. Ryan was quiet, helping her unpack things. I noticed he avoided my gaze. Ashley and her husband arrived around 7 in the evening, the house filled with laughter and Christmas music. Ashley made eggnog. Her husband put carols on in the living room. Everything seemed normal. Everything seemed perfect. Vanessa prepared dinner: turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce. Everything looked delicious. We sat at the table around 9 at night. Vanessa served the plates with a huge smile. Today we toast to family, to health, to the future. She raised her glass. We all imitated her. I raised mine, but before drinking, something stopped me. Vanessa approached me with a bottle of red wine. This wine is special, Robert. I bought it thinking of you. It is a reserve Cabernet, your favorite. And she served me a generous glass, too generous. She smiled at me, that perfect rehearsed smile that no longer seemed genuine to me. Cheers, Mr. Miller, to many more years. And she raised her own glass. I looked at the wine, dark red, shiny. I brought the glass to my nose to smell it, as I always do. And in that moment, Ryan got up from his chair. He walked toward me as if he were going to hug me, but on the way he tripped against the table. Everything moved. The glasses shook. And in the middle of the movement, with almost imperceptible speed, Ryan took my glass and switched it for Vanessa's. Everything happened in 2 seconds. No one saw it. Not Ashley, not her husband, not Vanessa. Only me. And I stood paralyzed, not understanding what had just happened. Ryan returned to his place. He looked me straight in the eyes. There was something there. Something urgent. Something terrifying. But he said nothing. He only nodded slightly, as if telling me, trust me. Vanessa raised her glass. Cheers! We all toasted. I barely touched my lips with the rim of the glass, but I did not drink. Vanessa, on the other hand, took a long sip, a big one. I watched her. She watched me, waiting, as if she were expecting something. Minutes passed. We kept eating, talking. Ashley told stories from Denver. Her husband talked about his work, all normal. But I could not stop looking at Vanessa, and she did not stop looking at me, with impatience, with anxiety. And then at exactly 10 minutes, Vanessa dropped her fork. Her face changed color. She turned pale, then red, then green. Excuse me, she murmured, and she got up from the table with her hands on her stomach. She walked fast to the bathroom, very fast, almost running. We all stayed silent. Is she okay? Ashley asked. Ryan shrugged. She has been a bit delicate with her stomach lately, but I saw the truth in his eyes. Ryan knew exactly what was happening to Vanessa, and I was starting to understand it too. From the bathroom, noises were heard. Many noises. Vanessa was having a bad time. Very bad. Ashley got up to go help her, but Ryan stopped her. Leave her. It will pass. I looked at him intently. He held my gaze, and in that silence, in that tension, I knew something terrible was happening, something much worse than I imagined. Vanessa came out of the bathroom 20 minutes later, discomposed, sweating, shaking. I feel very bad. I think something disagreed with me. Ryan got up. We better go home. Excuse us. He helped her walk to the door. I followed them. In the doorway, Ryan turned to me and whispered so low, I almost did not hear him. Tomorrow on Christmas, I will tell you something shocking. Do not drink or eat anything she gives you. Please, Dad, trust me. And they left, leaving me with a million questions and a cold fear installed in my chest. Ashley and her husband stayed a while longer, but I could barely concentrate on the conversation. I told them I was tired, and they left around midnight. I stayed alone in that huge house, surrounded by Christmas lights and dirty dishes, trying to understand what had happened. I went to the kitchen and looked for the bottle of wine Vanessa had brought. I found it on the counter. I smelled it. It did not seem to have anything weird. I put it in the fridge. Then I checked the glass Ryan had switched. I washed it before anyone else could touch it. I did not know what to do. I did not know who to trust. I did not sleep that night. I sat in the living room looking at the Christmas tree with my heart beating so fast I could hear it in my ears. What was Ryan going to tell me? What was in that wine? Why did Vanessa expect me to drink it? And why? Why had my son switched the glasses without saying a single word? Hours passed slowly. Outside fireworks began to bang announcing Christmas. Neighbors shouted congratulations. I was completely alone in the middle of the darkness, waiting for dawn to hear the truth that would destroy my life. Because something told me that after that conversation with Ryan, nothing would ever be the same. That the family I had trusted, for whom I had worked all my life, was about to reveal a face I never imagined. A dark face, calculating, dangerous, and worst of all was that my own son, the person I trusted most in this world, had kept a terrible secret, a secret that had saved my life that night. But that also meant he knew that he had been seeing something, something that I, blind and trusting, had not wanted to see. Christmas morning dawned cold and gray. I was still awake, sitting in the same position with the same questions spinning in my head. At 8 in the morning, my phone rang. It was Ryan. "Dad, I am coming over. Alone. We need to talk. Come." I told him. "I'm waiting for you." I hung up and prepared myself to hear the truth. A truth that I was sure would change everything. Ryan arrived at 9 in the morning on December 25th. I saw him from the living room window, parking his truck in front of the house. He sat inside the vehicle for several minutes with his hands on the steering wheel, looking forward. From where I was, I could see the tension in his shoulders, the weight of what he was coming to tell me. Finally, he got out, walked slowly to the door, and when I opened it, I saw something in his face I had never seen before. Fear. My son, the serious and calm lawyer, was afraid. "Come in," I said. There were no hugs, no Christmas greetings, only a dense silence that enveloped us both. Ryan entered and stood in the middle of the living room with his hands in his pockets, not knowing how to start. I closed the door and turned to him. "Tell me what is happening. Tell me what you did last night. And tell me why your wife expected to see me run to the bathroom like she did." Ryan closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and when he opened them again, I saw tears. My son, who had not cried since he was 12, had his eyes full of tears. "Dad," he said with a broken voice, "Vanessa put laxatives in your wine, a very high dose. She wanted to humiliate you. She wanted you to spend Christmas Eve locked in the bathroom, sick, weak, vulnerable in front of everyone. She wanted Ashley and her husband to see you like that. She wanted everyone to think you are losing your faculties, that you can no longer take care of yourself." The world stopped. Ryan's words floated in the air like something unreal, impossible to process. "What?" was the only thing I could say. My voice sounded distant, as if it came from another person. Ryan ran his hands over his face. "I saw her yesterday afternoon when we were preparing things in the kitchen. She thought I had gone out to the patio, but I came back for my phone, and I saw her pouring something into the wine bottle, a transparent liquid. I saw it with my own eyes. Dad, my blood froze. I did not know what to do. If I confronted her right there, she would deny everything. But I could not let you drink that wine either." "That is why you switched the glasses," I murmured. Ryan nodded. "It was the only thing I could think of in the moment. Act fast. Make her take her own medicine. I wanted her to feel what she had planned for you. And it worked. It worked too well." I sat on the sofa because my legs would no longer hold me. My daughter-in-law, the woman who sat at my table, who ate my food, who slept with my son, had tried to humiliate me in the cruelest way possible. And not only that, there was something else behind it. There had to be. "Ryan," I said, looking up at him, "this is not just about humiliating me. No one does something like that out of pure evil. What else is going on? What else do you know?" My son let himself fall into the armchair across from me. He looked exhausted, destroyed. "Dad, I have to tell you things I have been seeing for months. Things I did not want to believe. Things I tried to ignore because I was ashamed to admit I married someone like that." He rubbed his eyes with the back of his hand. "Vanessa is obsessed with your money, with your properties, with your life insurance, and it is not a casual obsession. It is something sick, calculated." The air in the room became heavier. "Explain yourself," I told him. Ryan took out his phone. "Let me show you something. 3 weeks ago, by accident, I saw messages on her cell phone. She was asleep and her phone rang several times. I took it to silence it and saw the notifications. They were from a WhatsApp group, a group called Project Miller. I felt a chill run down my spine. "Project Miller?" Ryan nodded. "Yes, Dad. Project Miller. Like your last name." I opened the chat. I could not help it, and what I read destroyed me. He showed me his phone. He had screenshots, conversations. "She is in contact with 2 people, a man named Gary, who is an accountant, and a woman named Brenda, who is a notary public. They are planning something big, something that involves your assets. I took the phone and began to read. The messages were from October, 2 months ago. Gary, did you find out how many properties he has registered in his name? Vanessa. 3 in Chicago, 1 in Michigan, and 2 lots near the vacation spots. Brenda, what about the life insurance? Vanessa. $3 million. Current beneficiaries, Ryan and Ashley, divided 50-50. Gary, we need him to change the will, or better yet, make a power of attorney in Ryan's name. With that, we would have access to everything. My hands were shaking. I kept reading. Vanessa, the problem is the old man is suspicious. He does not want to talk about inheritances. He says everything is in order, but he does not tell us what his will says. Brenda, what if you pressure him from another angle? Health, age, accidents. Make him see he needs help. Vanessa, I am already doing it. I bring him vitamins. I ask him how he feels. But he is stubborn. He does not give in. Gary, then, we need to speed things up. We need him to sign something, whatever, a document, a paper, even a simple permit that we can modify later. I stopped. I looked at Ryan. Modify later. Ryan gritted his teeth. Yes, Dad. Fraud. Forgery of documents. They are planning to scam you. Empty your accounts. Take everything while you are still alive, and then when you are gone. He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. I kept reading. The messages continued. Vanessa, the daughter, lives in Denver. She hardly comes. The old man is alone most of the time. It is the perfect moment. Brenda, does Ryan suspect anything? Vanessa, Ryan is a fool. He's so busy with his job, he sees nothing. He trusts me blindly. I can handle him. Those words. Ryan is a fool. I looked at my son. His jaw was tense, eyes shining with contained rage. Keep reading, he told me with a hoarse voice. The next message was from 2 weeks ago. Gary, I propose something more aggressive. If we cannot do it the nice way, we have to think of other options. Brenda, what kind of options? Gary, accidents, falls, stairs, that kind of thing. A man his age with high blood pressure can suffer a mishap at any moment. And if that happens, the insurance activates automatically. Vanessa, I like how you think, but it has to look natural. Nothing suspicious. I dropped the phone. I stood staring at the wall. I could not breathe. I could not think. My daughter-in-law, the woman who called me Robert with affection, was planning to hurt me. She was considering causing me an accident, killing me, to keep my money. My God, I whispered. My God, Ryan. My son stood up and began to pace from one side to the other. When I read that, Dad, I froze. I could not believe it. I thought it was a joke, that maybe I was misinterpreting. But I kept reading, and every message was worse than the last. There is more. Much more. Show me everything, I told him. Ryan returned to my side. He showed me more screenshots, recent conversations from a week ago. Vanessa, I already have a plan for Christmas Eve. I'm going to make him look like a senile old man. I'm going to humiliate him. When Ashley sees him like that, she will agree that he needs help. That is when we suggest a legal guardian, and that guardian will be me. Well, it will be Ryan, but I control him. Gary, how are you going to do it? Vanessa, laxatives. A good dose in his wine. He will spend the whole night in the bathroom. Everyone is going to see him weak, incapable. And then we can start talking about how he needs medical supervision, that his health is failing. I closed my eyes. The plan, the whole damn plan, was there, written, documented. Did you save these conversations? I asked Ryan. Every single one, he replied. I backed them up in the cloud, on 3 different accounts. I have proof of everything, Dad, of every message, of every plan, of every intention. I stood up. The rage was beginning to replace the shock. How long have you known this? Ryan lowered his gaze. Since 3 weeks ago when I discovered the messages. And since then I have been watching her, checking her movements, listening to her calls, recording conversations. Recording? Ryan nodded. Yes, I bought a small recorder and hid it in my jacket. I have recorded several conversations between her and those two people, Gary and Brenda. They have met 3 times at a cafe in the suburbs. I have everything recorded. Their voices, their plans, everything. Why did you not tell me anything before? I asked him. My voice sounded harder than I intended. Ryan shrank back. Because I was afraid, Dad. Afraid of being wrong. Afraid of ruining my marriage if it turned out I was misinterpreting things. But above all, I was afraid she would do something to you before we could stop her. That is why I acted last night. Because I saw that the laxative thing was real, that she was serious, and I could not let her humiliate you like that. I took a deep breath, tried to calm the shaking in my hands. Does she know you know? Ryan shook his head. No. Last night when we got home, she was so sick she just wanted to sleep. I told her it was probably something she ate in the afternoon. She suspects nothing. Yet. And what do you plan to do? Ryan looked me straight in the eyes. We are going to destroy her dad. Legally and completely. But we have to be smart. We cannot confront her directly yet. We need more proof. Solid proof. We need to link Gary and Brenda. Prove the conspiracy. And we need to protect you. Because if she realizes, we know she might do something desperate. I sat down again. My mind was spinning. What do you suggest? Ryan took a notebook out of his backpack. He had notes, dates, names. He had been preparing for this. First, I need you to change all your passwords. Banks, emails, everything. She knows some of your passwords. She cannot have access to anything. Do it today. Second, I need you to talk to your lawyer. Urgent. Have him review your will. Have him verify there is no weird document in your name. No signature you do not remember. Nothing. I will do it today, I said. Ryan continued. Third, we are going to set a trap. I'm going to tell Vanessa that you are considering making a power of attorney, that you are worried about your health and want me to have access to your accounts in case of emergency. She is going to bite the hook. She is going to pressure for you to do it fast. And when she does, I am going to record her. I am going to record every word, every manipulation, every attempt at fraud. And then, I asked. Ryan clenched his fist. Then we go to the police, with all the evidence, the messages, the recordings, the names of her accomplices. And we are going to sink her and everyone involved. I stayed silent for a moment, processing, planning. How much time do you need to gather all the evidence? Ryan thought. 2 weeks, maybe 3. I need to record more conversations. I need her to get confident, to talk more, to reveal more details. 3 weeks, I repeated. Can you act like nothing is wrong for 3 weeks? Live with her knowing what you know? Ryan swallowed hard. I have to do it, Dad. For you. For us. For justice. I extended my hand toward him. He took it. Okay, we will do it your way. But I need you to promise me something. Ryan nodded. Whatever. If at any moment you feel you are in danger, if she suspects anything, you get out. Immediately. You come here. You do not risk it. Understood? Ryan squeezed my hand. Understood. We stayed like that for a moment. Father and son, united against a threat neither of us had seen coming. Finally, Ryan stood up. I have to go. Vanessa will wake up soon and she cannot know I was here. I told her I was going to Mass. He walked toward the door but stopped before leaving. Dad, one more thing. Do not trust anyone. Do not tell Ashley anything yet. Do not tell your friends. No one can know we are investigating. If Vanessa finds out, she will disappear. And with her all the evidence. I know, I told him. I will be careful. Ryan hugged me, a strong, desperate hug. I love you, Dad. And I swear I am going to fix this. I am going to fix the disaster I brought into your life. I returned the hug. It is not your fault, son. She fooled us both. Ryan left. I saw him get into his truck and drive away. And when the street was empty, I went back inside the house and locked the door. I stood there in the silence, trying to process everything I had just heard. My daughter-in-law wanted my money, my properties, my life, and she had recruited help, an accountant and a notary, professionals willing to commit fraud, willing even to consider something much worse, an accident, a fall, something that looked natural. I went to my study, took out a new notebook, and began to write. Everything, every detail, every name, every date. If something happened to me, someone had to know the truth. I wrote for hours. I documented every conversation I had had with Vanessa in the last months, every weird comment, every question about money, every insinuation about my health. When I finished, I put the notebook in my safe, along with copies of my important documents, my will, my deeds, everything. Then I called my lawyer, Ernie Campbell, a man my age with whom I have worked for 20 years. Ernie, I need to see you. Urgent. Today, if possible. Ernie heard the tone in my voice. Are you okay, Robert? No, I admitted. I'm not okay, but I will be. I need your help. Come to my house in 2 hours. I will be waiting for you. I hung up. I took a shower, changed clothes. And while I was getting ready, I felt something I had not felt in years. Determination, strength. I was not going to be a victim. I was not going to let them steal from me. I was not going to let them humiliate me. And definitely, I was not going to let them hurt me. If Vanessa wanted war, she would have it. But it would be a war she never expected. Because I was not a defenseless old man. I was a man who had built an empire from scratch, who had survived crises, losses, betrayals, and I was not going to fall now. I left my house with the evidence Ryan had given me, with my notebook, with my rage turned into strategy. I was going to see Ernie. I was going to protect my assets. I was going to protect myself. And when the time came, when we had all the necessary evidence, we were going to destroy Vanessa O'Connor and all her accomplices, because no one, absolutely no one, was going to steal from Robert Miller what cost him so much to get, and much less. No one was going to threaten his life and get away with it. This was just beginning. Ernie Campbell's house was in a quiet area of the suburbs, surrounded by trees and gardens. I had been there hundreds of times over the years, but this time was different. This time I was not going to talk about contracts or deeds. I was going to talk about survival. I rang the bell and Ernie opened almost immediately. He looked me up and down, evaluating me with those lawyer eyes that never miss a detail. You look terrible, Robert, he said bluntly. Come in. You need a coffee. We went into his study, a room with walls lined with legal books, framed diplomas and photographs of his family. Ernie poured me coffee in a porcelain cup and sat across from me. Now tell me what is happening. I took a deep breath and began. I told him everything, from Vanessa's weird comments to the messages Ryan had discovered. I showed him the screenshots on my phone. I explained about the laxatives and the wine, the switch of glasses, the planned humiliation. Ernie listened in silence, with his frown deepening. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and took off his glasses. Good Lord, Robert, this is extremely serious. I know, I said. That is why I came to you. I need to know how legally vulnerable I am. I need to make sure they cannot touch anything of mine without my express consent. Ernie put his glasses back on and opened his laptop. Let me check your files. I need to see your current will, your valid powers of attorney, and any document you have signed in the last 2 years. We spent the next 3 hours reviewing every paper. Ernie was meticulous, reading every clause, every small line. Finally, he closed the laptop and looked at me seriously. You are lucky, Robert. There is nothing irregular. Your will is clean. You have not signed any power of attorney. Your properties are all in your name, without strange liens. But that does not mean you are completely protected. What do you mean? I asked. Ernie got up and went to one of his shelves. He took out a folder and came back. These guys, Gary and Brenda, if they are who I think they are known in certain circles for doing dirty work. Gary is an accountant who has been involved in 2 fraud cases I know of. They could never prove anything, but his reputation is stained. And Brenda the notary was suspended 3 years ago for irregularities in documents. They lifted the suspension after 6 months, but the precedent is there. I felt a chill. How do you know it is them? Ernie opened the folder. It had photographs, newspaper clippings. There's a small circle of corrupt professionals in this city who dedicate themselves to scamming elderly people. I have litigated against some of them. When you mentioned the names, I immediately thought of these two. And if it is them, Robert, you are in grave danger. These guys do not play. They have emptied entire accounts, falsified signatures, manipulated wills, and the worst is they are good at what they do. Very good. I stayed quiet, processing the information. What do you recommend? Ernie closed the folder. First, we are going to shield everything. Today, I am going to prepare additional documents, specifying that any power of attorney you grant must be ratified by me, personally. I am going to notify your banks that they cannot process any major transaction without your physical presence and a confirmation call to this office. I am going to put alerts on all your properties, so any attempt at transfer or lien reaches me immediately. Is that legal? I asked. Ernie smiled barely. It is precautionary and completely legal. You are my client, and you are taking measures to protect your estate. No one can object to that. I nodded. What else? Ernie got serious. Second, you need Ryan to keep collecting evidence, but he has to do it carefully. If Vanessa suspects anything, she can become unpredictable. And third, we need to involve the police, but not yet. First, we need a solid, irrefutable case, because if we go too soon, they're going to hire good lawyers and slip away. Ryan said he needs 2 or 3 weeks, I commented. Ernie thought, that could work. But in that time, Robert, you have to be extremely careful. Do not accept anything from Vanessa. No food, no drink, no meds, nothing. And never stay alone with her. There always has to be someone else present. Do you think she would really try to do something physical to me? The question sounded absurd coming out of my mouth. Ernie did not hesitate. If she feels cornered, yes, I have seen similar cases. Desperate people do desperate things. And we are talking about millions of dollars, Robert. For that amount of money, people are capable of anything. I left Ernie's house with a strange feeling. On one hand, I felt relief, knowing my assets were protected. On the other, I had a constant fear installed in my chest, a fear I could not share with anyone but Ryan and Ernie. I went straight to my bank. I spoke with the manager, Mary Lou, an efficient woman who had known me for years. I explained I wanted to put additional security measures on all my accounts. She asked no questions. She simply processed the requests. Now, any movement over $2,500 required my physical presence, an official ID, and a confirmation call to Ernie's office. The following days were strange. Vanessa called me twice. Robert, how do you feel? I hope dinner did not disagree with you. Her voice sounded sweet, worried. I answered in monosyllables. I'm fine, thanks. Sure? It is just that I felt terrible that night. I think there was something in the food. Probably, I told her, without giving her much rope. I could feel her frustration on the other end of the line. She expected me to complain, to tell her I had felt bad, that I had spent the night in the bathroom, but I did not give her that satisfaction. Ryan sent me daily messages, brief reports. All good. She suspects nothing. Today she met with Gary at a cafe. I followed them, recorded them. They are pressuring her to speed things up. She says you are more stubborn than she thought. Every message gave me a bit of peace and a bit more rage. My son was risking himself for me, living with a viper, pretending everything was fine. A week after Christmas, Vanessa and Ryan came to visit me. I was prepared. Ernie had advised me to receive them normally, not to show any suspicion. Act like always, he had told me. Do not give them any reason to think you know something. I received them in the living room. Vanessa brought a chocolate cake. I made it especially for you, Robert. I know you love it. I smiled and took it, but I did not taste it. Later, when they left, I threw it in the trash. I was not going to risk it. During the visit, Vanessa brought up the topic I knew she was going to bring up. Mr. Miller, Ryan and I were talking. You are already at an age where it would be good to have everything more organized. I mean, we do not want to think about bad things, but one never knows. Have you thought about making a power of attorney? Something that gives Ryan access to your accounts in case of emergency. There it was, the hook. I looked at Ryan. He kept his face neutral, but I could see the tension in his jaw. Why do you ask me that? I said, looking directly at Vanessa. She smiled. Because we love you, Robert. Because we worry about you. If something happened to you, if you had an accident or got sick, Ryan would need to be able to handle your affairs, pay hospital, doctors, medicines, that kind of thing. I have all that covered, I told her. I have insurance. I have a lawyer. Everything is in order. Vanessa insisted. But it would be easier if Ryan had a power of attorney. That way he would not have to be calling the lawyer every time. It would be faster, more efficient. I shook my head. I do not see the need. As I tell you, everything is in order. But thanks for the concern. I saw the frustration in her eyes. She pressed her lips together and tried to change strategy. And what does your will say, Robert? Excuse me for asking, but it is important for Ryan to know, to avoid problems later. My will is a private matter, I told her firmly. When the time comes, everyone will know what is necessary. But that time is not now. Vanessa forced a smile. Of course. It was just a question. But I had seen what I needed to see. The urgency, the anxiety. She was desperate, and that made her dangerous. When they left, Ryan sent me a message. Perfect Dad. I recorded her completely. It was clear she is pressuring. Tomorrow I have another meeting with Gary and Brenda. I'm going to record that one too. I replied, Be careful. Very careful. Always, he answered. The days passed slowly. I spent my time locked at home reviewing documents, talking to Ernie, waiting for news from Ryan. I started feeling paranoid, checking windows at night, verifying all doors were locked. I stopped accepting unexpected visits. Ashley called me from Denver. Dad, are you okay? You sound strange. I'm fine, honey. Just a little tired. Sure? Ryan told me he saw you kind of tense last time. Ryan had prepared the ground. He had told Ashley I was a little stressed, but it was nothing serious. I followed the script. It is age, sweetheart. Sometimes one gets melancholic after the holidays. Nothing to worry about. But Ashley knew her father. Did something happen on Christmas Eve? Vanessa left very fast, and you stayed quiet all night. Nothing happened? I lied. She felt sick to her stomach. That is all. Ashley did not sound convinced, but did not insist. Well, if you need anything, call me, and I will come visit you next weekend. Sounds good? Sounds perfect, honey. But that weekend never arrived, because 3 days later, Ryan called me in the early morning. His voice sounded altered, scared. Dad, I need you to come get me now. Please. I jumped out of bed. What happened? Vanessa discovered me. She found the recordings. We are arguing. She got violent. She broke my phone. Dad, you have to come. Please. I did not think twice. I got dressed in 30 seconds, grabbed the keys to my truck, and shot out towards their neighborhood. I drove like crazy, running red lights, praying there were no patrols. I arrived at Ryan's building in 15 minutes, ran up the stairs without waiting for the elevator, knocked on the door. Ryan, it is me. The door opened. My son was there with a split lip, bleeding. Behind him, Vanessa stood in the middle of the living room with messy hair, eyes injected with rage. In her hand, she had a kitchen knife. Vanessa? I said with a calm voice, even though my heart was beating 1,000 an hour. Drop that. She looked at me as if I were her worst enemy. You. This is your fault. Everything is your damn fault. If you had signed the damn power of attorney, none of this would have happened. Drop the knife, I repeated. Ryan moved to the side, getting away from her. Dad, I already called the police. They are on their way. Vanessa let out a hysterical laugh. The police? You are going to turn me in, Ryan? After everything we have lived together, you are going to turn me in. You tried to scam me, said Ryan with a firm voice. You tried to hurt my father. You are not the woman I married. Or maybe you always were this and I was too stupid to see it. Vanessa pointed the knife at him. Do not you dare call me a scammer. I just wanted what belongs to us, what your father owes us. He has millions and lives alone in that huge house like a selfish man. He does not want to share anything. He does not want to help us. I do not owe you anything, I said with a firm voice. What I have I earned with my work, with my effort, and I can do with it whatever I want. Vanessa took a step toward me. You are a stingy old man, a bitter old man who's going to die alone. And when that happens, we are going to keep everything anyway. So why do not you make things easier for us now? Because what you wanted was not help, I told her. It was theft. It was fraud. And you planned something worse. Accidents. Falls. I know everything, Vanessa. I have the evidence. Her face changed. From anger that went to fear. What evidence? Ryan spoke. The messages, the recordings, everything. I have copies of every conversation you had with Gary and Brenda. I have recordings of your meetings. I have proof you planned to defraud him. And I have proof you considered doing him physical harm. Vanessa dropped the knife. It fell to the floor with a metallic noise. She let herself fall on the sofa, covering her face with her hands. It cannot be. It cannot be. At that moment, sirens were heard outside. The police had arrived. Ryan ran to open the door. 3 officers entered. I explained the situation quickly. I showed them on my phone some of the screenshots Ryan had sent me. I told them she had threatened my son with a knife. The officers looked at the knife on the floor. They looked at Ryan's split lip, and they handcuffed Vanessa. This is not going to stay like this, she screamed while they took her away. I have lawyers. I have contacts. You do not know who you messed with. But her voice sounded desperate, hollow. The officers took her away. Ryan and I were left alone in the apartment. He let himself fall on the sofa, shaking. I sat next to him and hugged him. It is over, son. It is over. What if she fulfills her threat? Asked Ryan. What if her lawyers get her out? They will not, I told him securely. We have too much evidence. And besides, Ernie is already preparing a formal lawsuit. Against her. Against Gary. Against Brenda. We are going to sink them all. That night Ryan stayed at my house. He did not want to go back to the apartment. He did not want to be alone. We slept little. The next day we went to Ernie's office. We told him what had happened. Ernie took note of everything. Good. Now we have enough. I am going to file the lawsuit today. Fraud, attempted extortion, threats, domestic violence, and I am going to request a restraining order so Vanessa cannot get near either of you. The following days were a whirlwind. The police investigated thoroughly. They tracked Gary and Brenda's phones. They found more messages, more evidence. They discovered they had tried the same thing with 2 other elderly people in the last year. One of them had died in suspicious circumstances, a fall down the stairs. The case was reopened. The investigation expanded. Vanessa tried to negotiate. Her lawyer contacted us. My client is willing to plead guilty to lesser charges in exchange for a reduced sentence. Ernie consulted us. Ryan and I looked at each other. No, we said at the same time. We want this to go to trial. We want everyone to know what she did. We want complete justice. The trial was scheduled for 3 months later. Meanwhile, Vanessa remained in preventive detention. No bail. The judge considered her a danger to society. Ryan started his divorce process. It was fast. There were no assets in common, no children, just papers and signatures. Gary and Brenda were also arrested. Their offices were raided. Fake documents were found. Forged signatures, evidence of multiple frauds. The scandal was huge. It was on the news. Scammer network preyed on elderly in Chicago. I became a kind of symbol. The media wanted to interview me, the man who uncovered a fraud network. But I refused. I did not want to be famous. I just wanted justice and protection for others like me. Ernie suggested we issue a statement through the Bar Association, a warning for other seniors. Beware of those who get too close. Beware of questions about money, properties, inheritances. Beware of pressure to sign documents. Beware of people who make you feel incapable or weak. The statement was distributed widely. Several people approached, later saying they had lived similar situations, that they suspected relatives or acquaintances. More investigations were opened. Finally, the day of the trial arrived. The room was full. Ashley came from Denver to accompany us. Ernie presented all the evidence, the screenshots, the audio recordings, the testimonies, the fake documents found in Gary and Brenda's offices. The case was irrefutable. Vanessa tried to cry on the stand. I just wanted to help my husband, help my family. But her story did not fit the evidence. The messages were clear. The intention was clear. The jury deliberated for 2 days. When they returned, the verdict was unanimous. Guilty on all charges. Vanessa was sentenced to 12 years in prison, Gary to 15, Brenda to 13. Also, they had to pay restitution to all their previous victims, millions of dollars. Their professional careers were destroyed, their names stained forever. When we left the court, Ryan hugged me. We won, Dad. We won. Yes, son, I told him. We won. But the victory felt bittersweet, because although we had obtained justice, something had broken along the way. Trust, innocence, the capacity to believe people are good by nature. That night at home, the three of us had dinner together, Ryan, Ashley, and me, like a family, as it should always have been. Ashley raised her glass, to Dad, to his bravery, to not letting himself be defeated. Ryan raised his, to justice, to truth. I raised mine, to family, to true family, the one that stays when things get tough. We toasted, and in that moment I felt something I had not felt in months. Peace, not complete, not perfect, but peace at last. The months that followed the trial were of slow reconstruction, not only of my life, but also of the relationship with my children. Ryan moved temporarily to my house. He did not want to return to the apartment where he had lived with Vanessa. That place is contaminated, he told me one night while we drank coffee on the terrace. Every corner reminds me of her lies. Every piece of furniture reminds me how blind I was. I did not contradict him. I knew he needed time to heal, time to forgive himself for not seeing the signs before. Ashley came to visit us every 2 weeks. She took Fridays off and drove from Denver to spend the weekend with us. One of those afternoons, while we were barbecuing in the backyard, she asked me a question I knew would come sooner or later. Dad, how did you know? How did you know something was not right with Vanessa before everything exploded? I stayed thinking. The truth was complicated. I did not know for sure, I admitted. It was little things, comments, looks, questions that repeated too much. At first I ignored them. I thought I was being paranoid. I thought the loss of your mother had made me distrustful. But something inside me, an instinct one develops with years, told me something did not add up. Ashley nodded. I also felt something weird. The first time I met her, she seemed too perfect, too nice, too interested in pleasing. But I told myself I was being unfair, that I should not judge her without knowing her. We all make that mistake, I told her. We want to believe the best of people, especially when those people are close to those we love. Ryan approached with the plates for the meat. I was the worst of all, he said bitterly. I lived with her 3 years. I slept next to her. I believed every word, and I never suspected anything until I saw those messages. He sat next to us. Do you know what hurts the most? It is not that she tried to steal. It is not that she planned to hurt you, Dad. It is that she never loved me. Not a single day. Everything was acting. Everything was part of a plan. I put my hand on his shoulder. You do not know that, son. People are complex. Maybe at first there was something real. Maybe later ambition corrupted everything. Or maybe you are right, and it was all a lie from the beginning. But it does not matter anymore. What matters is you got out of there, that you are here, that you are alive and free. Ryan looked at me with wet eyes. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had not seen those messages, if I had not discovered the plan. Would they have succeeded? Would they have hurt you? We will not know, I told him. And it is better that way. We cannot live in what if. We can only live in the now. But I did wonder. At night, when I could not sleep, I imagined scenarios. I saw myself drinking that wine with laxatives. I saw myself humiliated in front of my family. And then I imagined myself signing documents under pressure. I imagined falling down the stairs. I imagined myself in a hospital, weak and confused. While Vanessa convinced doctors I was no longer fit to handle my own affairs, I imagined my funeral. Vanessa crying falsely, Ryan not knowing his wife had been responsible, and those images kept me awake. Ernie recommended I see a therapist. Robert, this was a trauma, not just physical, emotional, psychological. You cannot process it alone. At first I resisted. I was of the generation that did not talk about feelings. That endured. That moved on. But after 3 weeks of insomnia, I accepted. The therapist was named Dr. Hector, a young man, about 40, with a calm voice and infinite patience. Mr. Miller, he told me in the first session, what you lived is what we call complex relational betrayal. It was not just a betrayal. It was multiple layers. Betrayal of trust, family betrayal, financial betrayal, and betrayal with intent to harm. It is normal that you are feeling fear, rage, confusion, and how am I supposed to get over it? I asked him. Dr. Hector smiled slightly. It is not about getting over. It is about processing, understanding, healing little by little, and above all, not letting this experience turn you into someone you are not anymore. Fear is natural, but it cannot become your prison. His words resonated with me, because that was exactly what was happening. Fear had become my prison. I was afraid to leave the house, afraid to meet new people, afraid to trust, afraid to live. The sessions with Dr. Hector helped me. Little by little, I began to understand that what had happened was not my fault, that I had not been naive or stupid, that I had been a victim of experts in manipulation, and that my reaction, my instinct of distrust, was what had saved me. We also worked on the theme of forgiveness. Do you think one day you can forgive Vanessa? Dr. Hector asked me in a session. I do not know, I admitted. Part of me wants to hate her forever, wants her to suffer for what she did. But another part is tired of carrying that weight. Forgiveness is not for her, he explained. It is for you. Forgiving does not mean forgetting. It does not mean justifying. It means releasing. Releasing yourself from the weight of resentment, from the rage that consumes you inside. And how is that done? I asked. Step by step, he replied. Day by day. Allowing yourself to feel. Allowing yourself to cry. Allowing yourself to be angry, but without staying trapped there. I cried a lot in those sessions. I cried for the betrayal. I cried for Ryan and everything he had lost. I cried for the innocence I would no longer have. And I also cried for Mary, because deep down all this would not have happened if she were alive. She would have seen Vanessa as she was. She would have protected me, and without her, I had been left vulnerable. 6 months after the trial, I received a letter. It came from the state prison. It was from Vanessa. My first instinct was to throw it in the trash without opening it, but something stopped me. I left it on my desk for 3 days, looking at it, wondering if I should read it. Finally, one rainy afternoon, I opened it. Dear Mr. Miller, it began. The letter was long, several pages written with small, tight handwriting. I do not expect you to believe me. I do not expect you to forgive me. But I need you to know the truth. Not the whole truth that was said in the trial. My truth. I kept reading. Vanessa talked about her childhood, about an absent father and an alcoholic mother, about growing up in poverty, about seeing how her family lost everything when her father got into debt with loan sharks. Since I was a girl, I learned that money is the only thing that matters, she wrote. That without money, you are invisible. That people only respect you if you have something to back you up. She talked about how she met Gary in college, how he showed her there were ways to get money without working so hard. Smart ways, he called them. Illegal ways, I thought. Then she met Brenda, and together they formed what she called an opportunity team. They had scammed 5 people before me, but I was the jackpot. When I met Ryan, she wrote, I did not expect to fall in love, but it happened. At first, he was good, kind, everything I did not know. But later, when I knew who his father was, when I knew how much money you had, something changed in me. Ambition returned, and little by little love left. Gary and Brenda pressured me. They said this was the opportunity of our lives, that after this we could retire, live peacefully. And I believed them. I convinced myself you did not need all that money, that we deserved it more, that it was fair. I felt nausea reading that. Fair. She believed stealing from me was fair. The laxative thing was my idea, she continued. I wanted to humiliate you. I wanted your family to see you were no longer the strong man everyone remembered, that you needed help. I wanted to open the door for the next step. But never. Never did I think of doing you physical harm. That was Gary's idea, and I said yes, because I was afraid of being left out of the plan. But I would not have done it, I swear. I would never have allowed anything to happen to you. I left the letter on the desk. Should I believe her? Did it matter if I believed her or not? She was still guilty. She was still a manipulator. But there was something in her words that made me think. Maybe she was also a victim. Not of me, but of her own ambition, of her own history, of the people surrounding her. That did not excuse her, but it humanized her. And maybe, just maybe, that was what I needed to start letting go of the resentment. I showed the letter to Ryan. He read it in silence. When he finished, he folded it carefully and gave it back to me. What do you think? I asked him. Ryan sighed. I think she is trying to justify herself. I think she wants us to see her as a victim. But I also think there is probably some truth there. Not in everything, but in something. Do you forgive her? I asked him directly. Ryan thought for a long time before answering. No, not yet, maybe never. But I do not hate her anymore, and that is progress. A few months later, Vanessa's lawyer contacted me again. My client wants to see you. She wants to talk to you, face to face. Ernie advised me not to go. You have no obligation, Robert. Nothing good can come of that. But Dr. Hector had another opinion. Sometimes closure comes from confrontation, from looking at the person who hurt you and telling them what you need to tell them, but only if you feel ready, only if you want it. I thought for weeks. Finally, I decided to go. Not for her, for me, because I needed to see her. I needed to tell her things I had not been able to say in the trial. The visit was scheduled for a Tuesday afternoon. Ernie insisted on accompanying me. Ryan also wanted to go, but I asked him not to. This is something I need to do alone. Well, not alone with Ernie, but without my son. The state prison was a gray and cold place. We passed through 4 security checks before reaching the visiting room. It was a small room with a metal table and 2 chairs on each side. Vanessa was already there when we entered. She looked different. No makeup. Hair tied in a simple ponytail. She wore the beige prison uniform. When she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. Mr. Miller, she said with a broken voice. I did not answer. I sat across from her. Ernie stayed standing by the door. Vanessa expected me to speak first, but I just looked at her observing, analyzing, searching for signs of sincerity or manipulation. Thanks for coming, she said finally. I did not think you would. I almost did not, I admitted. But I need answers. Real answers. Not the ones you gave the judge. Not the ones you wrote in your letter. The whole truth. Vanessa nodded. Ask me whatever you want. Did you ever feel anything real for my son? She closed her eyes. Yes, at first. The first months. Ryan was different from all the men I had known. But later, when I knew who you were, when I saw the opportunity, I let ambition win. And that is something I will have to live with forever. Would you have gone through with it? I asked. Would you have allowed them to do me physical harm? Vanessa looked me straight in the eyes. I do not know. I want to say no. I want to believe that at the last moment I would have regretted it. But the truth is, I do not know, and that terrifies me. At least she was honest about that. How many people like me are there? I asked her. How many victims did you leave behind? Before you? 5, she admitted. 3 in Chicago. 1 in the suburbs. 1 in a nearby town. Elderly people without close family, or with distant family. Vulnerable people. And do you regret it? Vanessa cried. Every day. Every night I lie in this cell and see their faces. I see the trust they had in us, and I hate myself for what I did. Regret does not erase the damage, I told her. It does not give you back your freedom. It does not give us back our peace. I know, she whispered. I know. We stayed in silence for several minutes. Finally, I stood up. I did not come here to forgive you, I told her. I came to tell you that I am not going to let what you did destroy me. I came to look you in the eyes and tell you I survived, that my family survived, and that we are going to be fine despite you. Vanessa nodded. That is the only thing I can hope for. I also came to tell you something else, I continued. I hope these years in prison change you. I hope when you get out, if you get out, you are a different person, a better person, because the world does not need more people like you were. It needs people who build, who help, who love for real. I turned to leave. At the door, Vanessa called me, Mr. Miller. I stopped, but did not turn around. Take good care of Ryan. He is a good man, the best I have known. And I was a fool not to value him. Yes, I said without turning. You were. And I left. In the car back home, Ernie asked me how I felt. Strangely liberated, I told him. Like I closed a chapter. You closed it, confirmed Ernie. Now you can start a new one. And that was exactly what I did. The following months, I focused on rebuilding. I went back to my business. I took small projects. Nothing too demanding. Just enough to feel useful. To remind myself I still had value. That I still had purpose. I also got involved in a support group for elderly victims of fraud. There were more than I imagined. Men and women who had lost everything at the hands of relatives, acquaintances, or strangers. I shared my story. I told them how I had survived. I gave them practical advice. Shield your accounts. Distrust insistent questions about money. Have a trusted lawyer. Never sign anything under pressure. And above all, listen to your instinct. That instinct that tells us when something is not right. Many of them thanked me. They told me my story had given them hope, that they were not alone, and that filled me with a purpose I did not know I needed. Ryan finally sold the apartment where he had lived with Vanessa. With the money, he bought a new one. Smaller, more modest, but clean of memories. He decorated it to his taste, without anyone's help. And for the first time in years, I saw him really happy. I am learning to be alone, he told me one afternoon while we drank coffee at his new place. And it is not so bad, I told him. Love comes when it has to come. And when it arrives, you will be ready. You will know how to recognize it, because now you know what fake love looks like. Ryan smiled. I hope so, Dad. I hope so. Ashley and her husband visited us for Christmas that year. It was a quiet celebration, just the 4 of us. No strange guests, no unpleasant surprises. We cooked together, we laughed. We remembered Mary with affection, and we toasted to the future. To family, I said, raising my glass. To true family. To resilience, added Ashley. To justice, added Ryan. To love, concluded Ashley's husband. That night, after everyone went to sleep, I stayed alone on the terrace, looking at the stars, thinking about everything that had happened, about how close I was to losing everything. Not just my money, my life, my family, my dignity, but I had survived. Not only had I survived, I had won. And I do not mean winning the trial. I mean winning my life back, my peace, my capacity to trust, even if it was a little less than before. I thought of Vanessa locked in her cell, paying for her crimes. Part of me felt sorry for her, for how life had shaped her, for the decisions she had made. But another part of me knew she had chosen her path. No one had forced her. No one had put a knife to her throat. She had seen an opportunity, and she had taken it. And now she was paying the consequences, as it should be. I also thought of all the people who did not have the luck I had, those who trusted and lost everything, those who signed documents without reading, those who believed in the sweet words of professional scammers, and I felt a responsibility, the responsibility to keep talking, to keep warning, to keep helping, because this was not just about me. It was about all the elderly people out there, vulnerable, alone, trusting. They needed to know there are bad people in the world, people who see the elderly as easy targets, as bags of money waiting to be looted, and they needed to know how to protect themselves, how to shield themselves, how to survive. A year after the trial, I was invited to give a talk at the University of Chicago. The topic was asset protection for seniors. I accepted nervously. I had never spoken in front of so many people, but when I arrived at the auditorium and saw the faces of the people sitting there, many of them elderly like me, I knew I had to do it. I went up to the podium and began to talk. I told them my story, without filters, without omitting anything. I told them about Vanessa, about her manipulations, about the laxative, about the plan to rob me, about how my son saved me, about how justice prevailed. And when I finished, the auditorium exploded in applause. People approached later. They thanked me. They hugged me. Some cried. "Thanks for speaking," said a lady about 70. I am living something similar with my nephew, and I did not know what to do. Now I know I am not crazy, that my suspicions are valid. Trust your instinct, I told her, and seek help, a lawyer, the police. You are not alone. She nodded with tears in her eyes. I will do it. I promise. That night, driving back home, I felt something I had not felt in a long time. Satisfaction. Purpose. I felt that everything I had lived, all the pain, all the fear, had served for something, to help others, to prevent more people from going through the same thing. Today, 2 years after that Christmas Eve, my life is different, quieter, more careful, but also richer in many ways. I have a closer relationship with my children. I talk to Ashley almost every day. Ryan comes to eat on Sundays. Sometimes he brings some girl he is getting to know. I do not ask much. I just observe. And so far, they all seem genuine. Normal. No red flags. I also have new friends. People from the support group. People who understand. Who have lived similar betrayals. We meet once a month. We talk. We support each other. We remind ourselves we are survivors, not victims. Survivors. My properties are still intact. My accounts are shielded. My will is updated and protected. Ernie makes sure of that, and I sleep peacefully knowing no one can touch what took me a whole life to build. Well, almost peacefully. There are still nights I wake up sweating, in which I dream of stairs, of falls, of poisons in my food, but each time they are less frequent. Doctor, Hector says it is normal. That trauma does not disappear overnight. That one must be patient. And I am. Patient. Because I learned that healing is not linear, that there are good days and bad days, and that it is okay. That it is okay not to be okay all the time. But it is also okay to celebrate the small victories, like sleeping all night without nightmares, like trusting someone new, like laughing for real, without faking. If I could give advice to anyone going through something similar, it would be this. Do not ignore the signs, those little alarms that ring in your head, when something does not feel right, those questions that repeat too much, those behaviors that do not fit. Your instinct exists for a reason. listen to it. And if you are already in the middle of a situation like that, if you already discovered the betrayal, remember this: you are not alone. There is help. There is justice. There is a way out. Find a lawyer. Gather evidence. Talk to the police. And do not be afraid to confront, because your life, your assets, your dignity are worth more than any toxic relationship, more than any fake family peace. I also learned something about forgiveness. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is not saying everything is fine. Forgiveness is deciding you are not going to carry the weight of hate forever. It is deciding the person who hurt you is not going to control your future. It is freeing yourself, not them, you. And that is something only you can do, no one else. I still have not completely forgiven Vanessa. Maybe I never will. But I do not think about her every day anymore. I do not feel rage when I hear her name. I no longer wish for her destruction. I just wish she learns, that she changes, and that she never hurts anyone again. That is the closest I have been to forgiveness. And for now, it is enough. What happened to me was terrible. It was traumatic. It was unfair. But it also taught me something valuable. It taught me who are the people who really love me. It taught me that family is not always blood. Sometimes it is choice. It taught me I am stronger than I thought, that I can face fear, that I can survive betrayal, and that I can use my experience to help others. So if you are listening to this and you are going through something similar, I want you to know something. You are going to get out of this. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but you are going to get out. And when you do, you are going to be stronger, wiser, more careful, but also more alive. Because you will have faced one of the worst fears of the human being, the betrayal of someone close, and you will have survived. And that, my friend, that is something you can be proud of. Because not everyone achieves it. Not everyone has the courage to face, to fight, to seek justice. But you do, and so do I. And that makes us warriors. Gray-haired warriors, maybe? Tired warriors, but warriors in the end. Now, every time I sit on my terrace to drink coffee, every time I see the sunset over Chicago, every time I hear my children's laughter, I feel gratitude. Gratitude for being alive, for having survived, for having a second chance. Because many do not have it. Many lose everything. Many end up alone, confused, stripped of everything they built. But not me. I am here, with my house, with my children, with my dignity intact, and with a story to tell, a story I hope helps someone, anyone who needs it. Because if my pain can prevent another person's pain, then it was worth it. Everything was worth it. So thank you. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for getting this far. And remember, protect what is yours. Trust your instinct. Surround yourself with good people. And if you ever face a betrayal like mine, do not give up. Fight, seek justice, and survive. Because the world needs more survivors, more voices that tell the truth, more people who say, I went through this, and I came out ahead. And if I could, you can too. May God bless you. May He protect you. And may you never, never have to live what I lived. But if you do, remember my story. And remember, there is a way out. There is always a way out. Take care of yourself and take care of yours. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is the people we love. The people who really love us. Everything else is secondary. This is my story. The story of Robert Miller. A man who was on the edge of the abyss but decided to cling to life, to justice, to hope. And who today, 2 years later, can say with his head held high, I survived. And not only did I survive, I triumphed. Thank you for listening to me. From the heart. And may what happened to me never happen to you. But if it happens, you know what to do. You know you are not alone. And you know there is justice, that there is hope, that there is life after betrayal. Until next time, friends, and remember, True family is the one that stays when everything crumbles. Take care of it, protect it, and never, never take it for granted. Because I learned it the hard way. Not everyone who smiles is family, and not everyone who calls themselves family is loyal. But those who are, those who really are, those are worth all the gold in the world. God bless you all.